Oh, there it
Hello
is.
and hello and welcome to Handgun Radio. I'm your host Ryan Michad from the wild woods of Central Maine, and this is your home for all the news, information, and discussion in the handgunning world. This week we chat with Nick from We Like Shooting to discuss his experiences with the Polymer80 build that he did. So as always, Handgun Radio is brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network. And please check out the Patriot Patch Company for their awesome patches and other high-quality items. Visit patriotpatch.co for more information. And shop Amazon using our affiliate link, firearmsradio.tv/Amazon. And if you'd like to help support Handgun Radio, head over to firearmsradio.tv/pledge. Click on HGR. There are a bunch of different pledge levels, and we really appreciate it. So, Nick, welcome to the show. Good to finally have you on.
Yeah, it's good to be on, man.
So I'm a huge fan of yours over at We Like Shooting. Don't tell Savage.
Oh, I will keep it quiet.
Oh my God. He was texting me tonight. We were talking about 3D printing and cryptocurrency.
Of course. Yeah, talk about cryptocurrencies.
But yeah, very good to have you on the show. How you doing?
Oh, I can't complain so far. We'll see. Well, I mean, there's always time. That's what I always tell people. So far, so good.
But I don't know. I think
any minute. So
I think this is the first. Weird. Were you on We Like Shooting when Nick was on, or was this your first time meeting him?
I think I was on when Nick was there, wasn't I?
Yeah. You were on just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So you guys have been acquainted then.
Yeah.
Perfect. So Weird, how you doing?
I am doing mediocre, I guess you could say.
Come on.
My daughter was sick for like 2 weeks straight. Like ended up like having to like take her in for a chest X-ray because they're like, she's been sick for a long time. I want to make sure she doesn't have pneumonia. And like 2 days after that, she got better. But now I'm starting to come down with something. So you might hear a little bit of nice raspy tone in my voice. So yeah,
please, that would be awesome.
My awesome raspy tone.
So week in review. Weird, you're gonna probably yell at me. I don't know. My dad bought a new carry gun, Kimber Micro 9mm with the Crimson Trace laser grips, and I'm happy to report we took it out, put about 150 rounds through it on Saturday, and it functioned flawlessly.
I'm actually happy to hear that because I bag on Kimber a lot, but like if they got their act in gear and like made guns that worked beautifully and made $1,000 1911s that performed like $1,000 19 or $1,500 1911s that performed like $1,500 1911s, that'd be awesome. That'd be great. Like I would be happier, no happier with it. And so it's great that this gun does work, especially since the Solo that it kind of replaced really didn't work like at all, and they don't make it anymore. But I got to ask, why did your dad choose that? I mean, so the Kimber Micro 9, that's essentially the Colt Mustang, but in 9mm. So identical to the Sig Sauer 938. Why did he choose the Kimber over the 938?
Because the Kimber was on sale in the Cabela's catalog, and it was cheaper than the 938.
Well, that's a reason to do
with the laser grip.
With the laser grip, which is actually a really, really, really nice thing to have, especially on those little tiny ones.
And it was pretty close to on. It has to be moved over a little bit to the left, but it was pretty close. We were using the 8-inch steel plate at about 25 yards.
Yep.
Or 25 feet rather. And it was pretty well on. I have to do a little bit of adjustment though, but the sights are fantastic on that gun.
How's the recoil on that? I actually never shot one of the 9mm ones.
It's not bad. I actually have a video going up after the show. I just actually finished editing it before we went live, and it wasn't bad at all. I think my car actually kicks a little bit worse than it.
Well, that's interesting, especially since that's an aluminum frame.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because my general opinion is aluminum frame guns, as a general rule, are the hardest recoiling, or at least the hardest felt recoil.
I feel like I can choke up higher on the Kimber than I can the car, and I think that might have something to do with it.
Wait. Lower bore axis than a car? Heresy!
Sorry.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe all the SIGs come with night sights, just default, right?
I actually don't know that.
Yeah, I haven't really paid that close attention to it.
Does the Kimber come with night sights, or are they just standard, like 3 dots or something?
Standard 3 dots. Yeah, just standard 3 dot sights dovetailed in front and back.
So here's a question for you guys. On a gun like this, would you guys rather have just plain old sights and the laser, or would you rather have night sights?
I'm
Me
not
personally, I'm
well,
not a big fan of lasers.
yeah, I'm not a big fan of lasers either. So I would probably actually would prefer night sights
Hmm.
over it. I mean, they're not equal because I mean, I think a good set of night sights is still cheaper than like a Crimson Taste laser grips. And for good
Yeah.
reason. Crimson Trace is like a spectacular bargain, but you know, lasers are not cheap, and lasers that point in a repeatable pattern under recoil and heavy recoil. If we talk about like a little micro 9 millimeter, you know what you get, what you pay for, and they're nice grips.
But they sell those ones on Amazon for like $20 that you just clip onto the underside of the dust cover, and they're supposed to work great.
Yeah, I imagine they will.
I mean, I won't ever discount like the laser as a useful tool for people. Like I was telling my dad, and my dad was asking, he goes, you know, what's the benefit of the laser? Can people see it and stuff? 'Cause, I mean, he likes guns, but he's not really a gun guy. And I said, well, I mean, lasers are good for, you know, if you have compromised eyesight or something like that, and you have a hard time with traditional sights or whatever. But also, like, if you're on the ground and you can't get a good sight picture, you can use that laser. Maybe you can come up out of the pocket from like and shoot from the hip or something, and you have that laser to point you where you're going to go. But
Mm.
you know, that's a really limited set of circumstances. So I mean,
Well,
just
and
for
you've also
me,
got that I forget the name of the actual technique, but the essentially like if somebody gets like right up in your face, you know, you would strike at them with, you know, strike at them and strike at them high, like strike at their face with your left hand as you draw your gun with the right. And those ones always teach you to index your elbow to your rib cage and essentially be putting the shots into their pelvic girdle, because you want to be aiming low so you don't end up hitting yourself in the hand. But with a laser, in theory, you might be able to visualize that dot and put the shots, you know, more in a center of mass type area.
my biggest concern is just people relying on the laser too much and not practicing with the traditional sights. That's my biggest concern when
Well,
people go out and get lasers. I mean, yes, the laser is a tool, but the laser can fail. Don't neglect practicing shooting with just your sight pictures.
also, but also lasers can be a good training tool, especially if you're one of those people that's one of those, hey man, can you shoot this? I'm sure we've all heard this. Hey man, can you shoot this gun and see if the sights are on? And you put like 3 through the X and you're like, yeah, the sights are on. I wonder why it's not shooting well for me. Like that is a perfect time to like flip a laser on and have them pointed at the target and watch that thing just dance
Yeah.
and going, see, that's the problem. Make that laser stop doing that and it'll stop doing that.
Yeah, I'll be honest. That's one of the only things I really care for a laser for is dry fire practice, because you can see a I guess the representation of where your bullet would go. If you're shooting at the wall or whatever, you pull the trigger, the laser dips or jumps or whatever, then you need to work on your trigger control or your grip or whatever.
Did you ever see that picture that someone took? It was an extended exposure picture of a laser like down on the target, and it showed like it looked like someone drew on the target with like an orange like pencil or something, and it showed where the laser went as they pulled the trigger.
Oh,
It
that's
was,
really cool.
yeah, it was really interesting. I'll see if I can find it. I'll post it on the Facebook page.
I know I was at my club once and I saw somebody shooting at a target and the laser would be sitting there very steady right on the X. And then it would just dive low and left and a hole would appear and then it'd pop back up to the X. That was a little bit of a trigger slap there.
So weird. What'd you do this week?
In shooting, nothing. I took care of a sick child and today I took a nap.
Did you dream about guns at least?
No, my wife had a home invasion dream though. That was kind of fun. And my daughter woke me up at 2 a.m. that night with, I don't know what she was complaining about. And then my wife had a horrible nightmare and woke me up at 4 a.m. So that's why I took a nap.
Oh, boy. So Nick, what'd you do?
Oh man, nothing particularly interesting. I worked all week, of course, and then as has been for the last few weeks, as soon as my weekend rolls around, I just end up working on cars. So it's been kind of fun. Things keep breaking on the girlfriend's car. So as soon as I fix something, something else breaks, and then it's not particularly fun.
What was the latest thing you had to fix?
She drove home the other day and went to put it in park, and she moved the gear selector, because it's an automatic, all the way forward into the park position, and then took her foot off the brake, and the car just rolled forward into the curb.
Uh-oh.
So it's engaging reverse and neutral and drive and all that. It's just not catching park. So
you had to replace the parking pall or whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I played with it a little bit today. I didn't have enough time, but yeah, I'm trying to figure out if it's something is worn out or something just came loose or what.
So tonight I carved her a pair of blocks to put under her tires.
Yeah. Well, her parking brake works great, thankfully. So, and where we park there, where we have a kind of a downward slant into the curb, so she's not really going anywhere.
It's so bad now because driving a standard, I've gotten to the habit of whenever I shut the car off, I reach over and pull the parking brake up. So if there's an automatic that I'm driving and it has the parking brake by my hand, I put it in park and I rip the parking brake up.
Yeah.
My wife's like, "Why do you do that? It's an automatic. You don't have to."
It doesn't hurt.
Yeah, it's useful. Keeps a little bit weight off that parking pole.
Well, sometimes it can hurt when it's really cold outside and then your parking brake freezes.
Yeah.
I've had that happen. That's no fun either.
Or also overusing your parking brake. I always just leave it in gear, put it in first or reverse whenever I'd shut it off. Which now that I drive an automatic, I sometimes leave it in gear when I shut it off when I get there. I actually had it at the gas station. There was a woman watching me. I'm like, I'm glad there was a witness. As I got out, started going to swipe my card at the gas, and my car starts just moving away from me. And I just quickly run down, grab it, and put it back, put it into park. And I'm like, see, I drove a manual for so many years and no problems. Now I drive an automatic. It's nothing but problems.
I do that every once in a while when I drive her car. Or the other one I'll do is I'm coming up to a red light, so I'll go to put my foot on the clutch and there's nothing there, and I panic for just a second.
Yep. But yeah, my issue with the parking brake was I eventually got dirt inside the one of the cables. And so that caused it to bind up, which meant that one side of the one of my rear drum brakes was left partially on, and I'm like, man, this isn't feeling right. I had an infrared thermometer and I was like, all right, that one's 70 degrees, that one's 80 degrees, that one is 190 degrees. Oh, I think we have a problem here.
Yeah,
an expensive problem.
So your drink segment, Pabst Blue Ribbon.
That is right. I am having a Pabst Blue Ribbon. It is one of my favorite beers. And I actually really wanted to kind of do it more as a statement to, there was a gentleman who wrote us an email. I actually don't recall his name. I'm not going to give it out and all that, who felt that my drink segment seemed a bit pretentious. And I really wanted to say that really isn't my intention. Like, I always chuckle, like when I see like bearded flannel shirt wearing me drinking a martini, because it's always like considered such a debonair drink. And it's really just but it's just the drink I like. And that's why I do this drink segment
hell, I'm drinking natural ice.
Oh God. Yeah. Well, there is a limit to how far I'll go. But yeah, it's really, I'm just trying to show people that mixing like really, really nice cocktails is something that's accessible. It's something you can do. It's just kind of like learning how to like cook a steak. Like, you can go to a steakhouse and pay $25 for a really nice, porterhouse steak, or you can get yourself a cast iron skillet and go down to your grocery store and grab a couple porterhouse steaks when they're on sale and throw that sucker on there and just learn how to do it. And you'll be able to make as good a steak for like $7 as you would pay for $20 at a fine steakhouse. And so that's just my thought, is with the drink that you like. And you know what I like? I like Pabst Blue Ribbon. It's cheap. I drank it a lot in college, and you know what? It tastes really good. It's very refreshing.
But it's the same thing for me. I drank a lot of natural ice in college and I developed a taste for it. And everybody else is like, oh, it's so gross. But to me, Tastes fine.
I drank a lot of natural ice in college too, and I developed a taste of vomit.
Well, that's because you drank too much of it.
I drank too much Pabst Blue Ribbon too, but for whatever reason, this didn't bother me.
It's that blue ribbon.
It earned it.
We keep a case of PBR in the fridge at work just because, you know, when we get down to the end of the day and we're kind of tired and hot and thirsty, it's refreshing and nice, and you know, it's kind of a nice way to end the day.
It's kind of funny that you guys had the whole Buffalo Trace 141 thing, because before like you guys even started talking about Buffalo Trace, I don't know if it was weird or someone else had turned me on to it, and I was drinking that some.
It wasn't me. I've actually never had it.
And then I was having Evan Williams, which is actually pretty fantastic for what it is.
Yeah,
we've talked about that before, though.
Yeah, Evan Williams isn't too bad. I got turned on to Buffalo Trace by a coworker that I had, and I was just starting to drink whiskey, and I was like, "Hey, do you have any suggestions for me?" And he was like, "Well, I drink a bottle of Buffalo Trace every night." I was like, "Ooh," but you know, one night rolled around, and I was like, I'll give it a go." And it's to be completely honest, there are a lot of whiskeys that I like better, but Buffalo Trace is just about everywhere. It's easy to find.
It's a good base whiskey.
Yeah, it's decent, and it'll do.
That's what I call like Evan Williams. It's a good well whiskey. It's a good general whiskey.
Yeah, and you know, if I decide that I want to drink it neat, that's fine. And if I end up pouring Coke in with it, I don't feel like I'm committing some crime or anything. Yeah.
You might be committing a crime if you start butt funneling it.
Well, I think that does that depend on the state? I mean, what are the state laws on that?
I think so. I don't know. I mean, you're in Colorado, so I think it might be legal there.
Oh, I'm sure it's probably fine.
Definitely don't cross over to New Mexico. They'll shoot you.
Well,
all right. So, God. So with that, we'll head into the main topic: the Polymer80 pistol build with Nick of We Like Shooting. So, Nick, I heard you were the first person that I heard on podcast land talking about the Polymer80 build and actually doing it, because We Like Shooting did the show with it, and then you did the build after, right?
Sorta, yeah. I'd seen their Glock 17 receivers before, and I honestly I do not like them. The original style, it's got like the weird ribs around the grip, and it just, I think it's uncomfortable. They don't fit my hand well. They look weird. They're a bad design. But they announced that they were doing the Glock 19 frame. They completely revamped it. So, you know, it's got that 1911 grip angle still, but now it's got double undercuts. They've got a nice aggressive texture on them. They don't have those weird ribs running around the outside of the grip. And I saw their what do you call it? Like their digital drawing that they'd come up with before they ever actually released them. It was like a concept that they announced they were working on. And I was kind of interested in it. I was kind of sour on the whole 80% receiver thing. But we went to SHOT Show this year, and they had a couple of them at the booth, and I went up and was playing with them, and that got me really excited because they fit my hand really well. And the Glock pistol is a gun I've always liked, but the 19 doesn't fit my hand particularly well. So in order for me to actually shoot it well, I have to kind of contort my grip a little bit and do some kind of weird things. And so it's never been particularly comfortable for me. But I played with the frames that they had on display there at SHOT Show, and I got really excited about it. And I went to Aaron and told him, you have to get me one of these. You do whatever it takes. Like, I want you. I hounded him all week, and finally on the very last day, I dragged him over to the booth, and I was like, whatever it takes, I don't care. Just I want one. So he chatted with him for a while and was able to agree to send us a T&E sample. So they sent that out, and then it was about that time that they came on the show, maybe a little bit after, and that was actually this one. So it's just black. It's their standard texture, and I I like it quite a bit. I built it up. I put about 4,000 rounds through this thing, and it doesn't show any signs inside of cracking or abnormal wear or anything weird. I actually ended up chopping the frame on this one so that it would take Glock 26 mags. So it's kind of ridiculous. Right now I've got it stripped down.
No, it's not, because that is like Paul Carlson used to talk about that. Mm-hmm. He had a Glock 19. What was it? Okay, it was a Glock 17 slide length, a Glock 19 grip length, I think. Because he always said that the hardest thing to hide in your waistband was the grip.
Yeah.
Well, the same idea is, I mean, I think everybody still makes one now. Well, except for Colt, who is the original maker, but the Colt called it the CCO, the concealed carry officer, which was a commander length slide. So a 4.25-inch barrel on top of the 5+ or the 5+, the 6+1, the shortened frame. So, and that's the exact idea is if you're wearing it on your waistline, it's the butt of the gun that's going to print. The barrel can be as long as you need it to be, but it's the butt of the gun that's going to print. And so that's where that's better for concealment. So yeah, the idea, but that's ridiculous, is not true. Because also when you shorten the barrel, you're going to lose some velocity. I think that's not as important as that added sight radius really does help with acquisition, and you can see problems with your sight. People say, get a gun with a longer barrel, it's more accurate. It's not more accurate. If you're not keyholing at, 15 feet, the gun's just, one size barrel is just as good as any other size barrel. But if you ever shot like a revolver with like an 8-inch barrel, oh my God, the sight resolution is unbelievable. You can see everything that front sight is doing.
Yeah, I say it's ridiculous because I've had a lot of people that see it and laugh at it, and it is kind of wonky looking. The proportions are odd, but I did it specifically for concealed carry, of course, and the Glock 19 size frame has always been just a little bit too fat, a little bit too long for me. So after I chopped it down, I noticed that it was a lot more comfortable to carry. It concealed a lot better for me, and it worked better. Now I've got a 4-3, so I haven't really been doing a whole lot with this. But yeah, if that is something that you want to try, I think this is a really great route to take because they're so affordable. They're about $150. If you keep an eye out, they go on sale. They're a really cheap way to try a Glock 26 size frame on a Glock 19 without worrying about destroying your factory frame or being out $500 or whatever if you ruin your gun.
So you already had a background in building firearms before, for people who haven't known your history. I mean, you were a rifle builder and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But was there anything that you encountered with the Polymer 80 that you hadn't encountered before when you were building guns?
Not particularly. As far as the 80% receivers go, I don't care about 80% receivers, especially when it comes to ARs. They're not cost effective. They're not time effective. They come out, unless you have access to a mill and you can do it right, they come out looking like shit. I've done a couple of them just because companies have sent them, and I said, sure, yeah, send it to me and I'll try it out. But I end up spending however much time, an hour if I've got a mill or whatever, and I can do a nice job and take my time. I spent an hour cutting the thing out. They still cost me $60-$70, whereas I could have gone and bought a complete lower for that. That you don't have anodizing on the inside. So the whole 80% receiver thing really irritated me. What I love about these is that they're super, super simple. The second one I did, which is one of the Brownells exclusive ones, it's got a different texture and color on it. I did in less than 15 minutes. There is not much to it.
So you'd classify the difficulty level at like intermediate, maybe, like if you can operate a drill press or a hand. I mean, what tools did you use to do your builds?
So the first one that I did, which is the black one, I followed the instructions that they had on YouTube. There's a video that they have on YouTube where they show uh, all the steps on how to properly do it. The second one, I was like, man, all of that was totally unnecessary. I cut the slide, the tabs on top of the frame that prevent the slide from going onto the gun. I cut them off with a bandsaw. I just basically ran the frame through a bandsaw and cut those tabs off. The channel in the barrel, I cut out with a Dremel with a sanding disc on it, and then I threw the thing in the little clamshell jig that it comes with, and used a power drill to punch the holes in it. It was really quick, really easy, super simple.
Okay. Yeah, so like someone like me who has a drill press and all various clamps and tools and everything should have no problem doing this thing then.
Oh yeah, I mean if you have a Dremel and some sandpaper, I think you can complete one of these pretty quickly.
So what are some things that the consumer has to be aware of before starting one of these builds? Because like I've talked with Savage about his because he just did one. And I was like, okay, so you're paying this much for the lower and you're doing all the work on the lower. What are the other parts that you have to factor in? And, you know, you have people who are like, oh, look, I can buy this and I can build a Glock for cheap, when a lot of the time you're going to be actually maybe more expensive than it would just be to buy a stock Glock.
One of the really big things to be aware of is that you have to use a Gen 3 slide. The Gen 4 slide. The Gen 4 has the different guide rod and spring on it. It's got that double spring, so it's a lot wider. And as a result, that what do you call that? That arm or whatever that holds the guide rod in place on the front of the slide is much larger, so it won't fit inside the frame. So the mistake I made first is I actually had a Gen 4 Glock 19, and I got the frame and was like, oh yeah, it'll work, I'm sure. And I ended up having to sell the Gen 4 and go buy a Gen 3 so that I could finish the project. Like you said, pricing can be an issue. If you're not careful, it's really easy to end up with an $800 Glock when you thought you were just building something basic and cheap. I've done some pricing and fiddled around with it, and ordering through Brownells, I think it's possible to build one for like $325 or $350. Or excuse me, $425 or $450, something like that. If you watch for sales, I'm sure you can get better deals. So it can be a little bit cheaper than a Glock, but it's not a whole huge amount. You know, you're not saving half your money or whatever by going this route. I would say the bigger deal here is less money savings and more, one, the ability to build exactly what you want without having extra pieces or extra parts that you gotta that you are essentially wasting. And I'd say the second major benefit would be the fact that, like building an AR, you can spread the cost out over a period of time. So you can build a little bit at a time, buy a piece here, a piece there. So if you can't go out right off the bat and drop $600 to buy all your parts, it makes it a lot easier for some people to stomach.
Well, realistically, I mean, you could buy your one slide that you want and buy 3 Polymer 80 frames or kits or whatever over the course of time and make your full size, your compact, and your subcompact for yourself. And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the other big thing too, sorry, is the fact that these come with a lot of the modifications that you would see on some of the higher end custom Glock frames. So instead of buying your gun and then sending your frame off, having to ship it to an FFL and having them have it for however long their backlog is and however long it takes for them to get it done and then send it back to you, you can go spend usually less money. You know, usually it's going to cost more than $150 to have a double undercut and a grip reduction and finger groove removal and stippling and all that. You can go spend $150 and get a comparable product without any of that hassle or pain or money spending or cost.
So what tools do come with the build kit? You said there's a jig. Are there any bits or anything?
Yeah, so they do come with the necessary drill bits, the jig, and an end mill. The end mill, in my opinion, is unnecessary. I think that when they tell you that you need to put it in your drill press and use your drill press like a mini mill or something, I think that's a waste of time. I think it's unnecessary. Like I said, I think you can just as well and just as easily use a bandsaw. You could shave the rails down or the tabs down with a razor blade. A Dremel with a sanding disc would work fine. I think it's very nice that they include those parts, but I don't think they're necessary at all. The drill bits are absolutely necessary because, you know, even if you do have the correct drill bit sizes, sometimes it can be a pain. Depending on how organized you are and how neatly you keep your tools, it can be a pain to go dig through a drawer or whatever and try and pick out the individual drill bits, and trying to figure out what sizes you need. So I think that's great that they include the sizes that you need, and the jig is actually labeled to tell you which drill bits to use in which hole.
Yeah, listener Chad was talking about his Polymer80 build, and he had one. I believe he had some issues when he first took it out. Tolerances were maybe a little bit tight, and he had some performance issues, but they smoothed out after a little bit. Did you run into any reliability or performance issues with your builds?
I ran into a couple of issues, but I don't believe that they were the issue of the frame. When I first built the gun up, I got a Burris Fast Fire, and I bought a mount that replaced the rear sight. And I did it that way because I wanted to test out the sight basically before I committed to having my slide cut out for it. So the added mass of the red dot and that mount that replaced the rear sight actually slowed the speed of my slide. So I was getting some stovepipes. If I took the red dot off, it ran perfectly. If I put the red dot back on, it would jam every once in a while, and there was a noticeable difference in the recoil impulse. So I did have a couple of issues, but they weren't the issue, an issue caused by the frame.
All right, I got to ask, how hard is it to suddenly have a magic oops moment and just toss a Polymer80 in the trash?
I mean, I haven't done it yet.
I mean, we're not talking about for me, because for me it's 100%. Like it'd be one of those like, all right, I'm just gonna buy 2 of them because one of them's going right in the trash.
Honestly, I should have brought one of the jigs with me. Unfortunately, I didn't. But I think they're really simple, really straightforward. The way the jig is shaped, you know exactly where to cut and how far to cut, and you know exactly what needs to be removed from where. The bridge that's in here that gets cut out is where your guide rod rides for the recoil spring. It's also
that
really
looks professionally done. I mean, people who are what you're holding. I mean, people are looking at that. It's like, you've seen the horror story AR 80% that looked like they were chewed out by a dog.
Oh yeah,
and that looks like it came from a factory.
Yeah, I mean, mine's a little rough. I didn't bother putting any polishing into mine. You can see there right here and right here. There's a little pad there where those nubs were that kept you from putting the slide on, and then the actual bridge cutout is a little bit gnarly. It's not super clean. Like I said, I didn't really put any time into polishing anything up or cleaning anything up because I wanted to see if the thing ran, and it did. So I left it alone.
I mean, like talking to you has relieved a lot of my doubts about the whole thing because, Savage has been after me. You should build one, and it's like I've seen the whole 80% lower thing with ARs, and I wasn't sure if some of the problems I've seen with those translated over to this, and this seems like it's a lot more refined.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, I have no interest, no love for 80% receivers for ARs. This, on the other hand, I'm crazy about. I think they're awesome. And I think the fact that Savage can do it and not have to do some sort of like weird hardware store, jerry rig, bizarre bullshit to make it work is
Put some rivets in it.
Yeah, like I think that's a testament to how good the design is.
JB Weldon baling wire.
Yeah.
So weird. Do you have any questions?
So how many have you done total?
I've done 2. So I've got my little chopped one that takes the Glock 26 mags, and then I've got my fully built one that this is one of the Brownells exclusive ones. It's got a more aggressive texture on it, which I like quite a bit. And I believe this color is also only available from Brownells. It's like a coyote tan kind of.
And are you going to build any more?
Yeah. So they just recently released this same design in a Glock 17 sized frame. So I've been going back and forth about whether I should build a Glock 17 or a 34.
I vote 34.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards the 34 too.
I vote Glock 17, but put a Glock 26 slide on it.
Huh. You know,
that would be a terrible idea.
I think Lone Wolf made some conversion barrels, so you may be able to make it work.
Well, excellent. Weird. If you don't have any more questions, we'll probably wrap up the show and head on out of here. You don't have anything else, Weird? Come on.
Who do you like better, Nick? Do you like Ryan or me?
I love you guys both.
All right. Well, with that,
it's like lemon and lime, you know? Like, you guys are all right on your own, but when you come together, you're just
But which one of us is lemon and which one is lime?
Ooh. I don't know. I didn't think that. I didn't think it through that far.
Because lemons kind of suck compared to limes. I'm just saying.
Oh, we'll let you think.
I think they're equally good. I mean, you don't put lime in tea. It'd be horrible.
I actually do.
You're just the worst. You're the worst kind of person.
And with that, I like that. That's perfect. We'll head into the wrap-up section. So don't forget to shop Brownells using our affiliate link. Head to firearmsradio.tv and click the affiliate link in the upper right-hand corner. Be sure to go like Handgun Radio on Facebook and share it with your friends. Leave us a review on iTunes. It helps the show get noticed. And listen to all the great shows on the Firearms Radio Network, including We Like Shooting. Be sure to visit the Firearms Insider and be sure to check out the Firearms Radio Network on YouTube. And Weird, where can people find you and your ridiculous commentary?
You can find me at my blog, which is weirdworld.com. You can also find me on the Squirrel Report and the Gun Blog Variety Cast.
And there are links to that in the show notes. And thank you for coming on, Weird.
Oh, it's always a pleasure.
And Nick, thank you for coming on the show.
Oh,
I don't know if one of those 5 viewers that is on the show right now is Sean. But if it is, hello, Sean, and thank you for letting Nick come on the show.
Oh, did you have to ask permission?
No, I didn't have to ask permission.
Because I did. I was like, hey, Dad, is it okay if I go hang out with some people on Sunday night?
He says he loves me.
I was kind of hoping that he would come into the office and be like, oh, hey, is that Ryan Michad? Like, hey, guys. No,
Probably wearing nothing but a pair of a Speedo and some sunglasses.
A Speedo and a smile.
That's actually what he usually wears when he's just hanging out at the office. Yeah, it's pretty alarming. Pretty concerning, actually.
So, Nick, where can people find you?
Let's see here. People can find me at weirdworld.com. Oh, wait, no, that's the wrong one. Yeah, so welikeshooting.com. We've got the blog that gets updated occasionally. And then we like shooting every Monday night. And every Wednesday night we do Double Tap.
And it is all absolutely fantastic. I don't miss an episode. And you shouldn't either. So thank you, Nick, so much for coming on the show. Hopefully we can have you on again soon to, we'll probably have a big round table. Maybe we can get Aaron and Sean on here. Maybe Savage too. Oh, God.
Ooh.
Oh, and man, I don't know. I think Google would kick us out, but all right. So until next week, have fun and safe shooting.